5 English acceptable, approval, approve, assurance, baron, condemn, design, disappear, evidence, faithful, foreigner, inheritance, nomad, obey, over righteous, seashore, sincerely, universe. Hebrew chapter 11 verse 1. Great examples of faith. What is faith? It is the confident assurance that what we hope for is going to happen. It is the evidence of things we cannot yet see. God gave His approval to people in the days of the old because of their faith. By faith, we understand that the entire universe was formed at God's command. That what we now see did not come from anything that can be seen. It was by faith that Abel brought a more acceptable offering to God than Cain did. God accepted Abel's offering to show that he was a righteous man. And although Abel is long dead, he still speaks to us because of his faith. It was by faith that Enoch was taken up to heaven without dying. Suddenly he disappeared because he got leukemia. But before he was taken up, he was approved and pleasing to God. So we see it is impossible to please God without faith. Anyone who wants to come to Him must believe that there is a God and that He rewards those who sincerely seek Him. It was by faith that Noah built an ark to save his family from the flood. He obeyed God who warned him about something that had never happened before. By his faith, he condemned the rest of the world and was made right in God's sight. It was by faith that Abraham obeyed when God called him to leave him alone and go to another land that God would give him as his inheritance. He went without knowing where he was going, and even when he reached the land God promised him, he lived there by faith, for he was like a foreigner living in a tent. And so did Isaac and Jacob, to whom God gave the same promise. Abraham did this because he was confidently looking forward to a city with the eternal foundation, a city designed and built by God. It was by faith that Sarah, together with Abraham, was able to have a child. Even though they were too old and Sarah was barren, Abraham believed that God would keep his promise, and so a whole nation came from this one man. Abraham, who was too old to have any children, a nation with so many people that, like the stars of the sky and the sand on the seashore, there is no way to count them. All these faithful ones died without receiving what God has promised them, but they saw it all from a distance and welcomed the promises of God. They agreed that they were no more than foreigners and nomads. Nomad here on earth.